Welcome to Directly Correct, a People Analytics podcast with Cole and Scott. Today's guest, Jordan Hartley, Senior People Analytics Analyst at Southwest Airlines.
Thanks to our sponsors, Pollinode. Harness the full power of organizational network analysis with Pollinode. With one-click data integrations and built-in relationship-based surveys, Pollinode enables people analytics practitioners to move from data to insights faster. To learn more and see why Pollinode is trusted by some of the most innovative companies in the world today, book a demo at pollinode.com/directionally correct.
Yeah, I get the Cole Napper syndrome. I love it.
Yeah, maybe it's psychosomatic. I don't know. But anyway.
Are you a regular doctor guy?
I haven't been
good
until
human?
my friend became a doctor, and now I just call him all the time.
Oh man, this is a very small town.
Yeah.
It's like when I first worked in Waco, my boss, he was a psychiatrist really, and he would trade like services with a general practitioner, and he would provide, and like the GP would just like work him in like for 5 minutes because he doesn't need the bedside manner. He'd say like, yeah, just like look at him, like here's 3 things good, get out of my office. So like work him out, work him in just like that. It's like that is the way life ought to work. That is fantastic.
Oh, it's so great. If you have a friend who's a doctor or a friend who's a lawyer or a friend who like police officer, all like the kind of like the tent pole professions, if you can have a friend in each of those, that can be a lifesaver.
Well, I mean, like the exact same thing we talk about on the podcast as far as like diversity of connections in organization. Like if you know 12 people in finance, that's great. But if you know 12 people, but one is in finance, one is in, marketing, one is in legal, et cetera, you're much better off because those people have redundant information.
Exactly. And redundant networks too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We all have the same connections. It's like, what are we going to talk about? The same stuff we always talk about. Yeah.
Which is like the beauty of the pod, like get like diverse perspectives in here. Like you and I, we'd probably run out of shit to say in 5 episodes in a row. I'm saying.
Yeah, if we did 5 in a row, would be tough, right?
It'd be without being repetitive.
I think like we'd either have to get extremely experimental, like just started doing like crazy stuff, or we would run out of stuff to talk about.
Like, I don't even know what that'd be. Spin the wheel. Like, here you go. Now we're going to talk about training.
Yeah, like I think we would, we'd start like playing around in ChatGPT on the podcast. Like, what does ChatGPT want us to talk about next?
Hey, let's do that right now.
Right.
That's a good idea. I love your experimental nature. I run a people analytics podcast. What should I talk about?
Yeah, it's like, didn't you ask us this last week? That would be a funny response.
It's like same thing as always, Scott.
Yeah.
Personality theories and profiles. Discuss various personality theories like the Myers-Briggs type indicator, Big 5 traits, etc.
So, okay, let's talk about this. I'm curious what you think about this. So I was watching this video the other day of a CIA analyst, and he was talking about, because I've always been curious, like how do intelligence services profile people? They always talk about like profiling, right, as a part of their job. I was like curious, how do they do this? So I watched a video on it, and one of the things that he said that they do is they literally try to, using behavioral indicators and things that they know about the subject that they're trying to understand, they will try to put somebody into a Myers-Briggs type, right? One of the 16 profiles. And I was like, I thought about that for a second, because from our background in IO psychology, we always thought that the Myers-Briggs was like a total joke. It was not reliable at all.
Yeah.
And I realized like the top intelligence service, arguably in the world, is using this. And theoretically, I would assume that they have some kind of reliability indicators that this works and there's some kind of fidelity with it. So I was really surprised to see that. I mean, like, do you think that there's some validity in the Myers-Briggs?
I mean, all evidence points to ostensibly, no. As far as like being predictive, reliability, I don't necessarily know the reliability. I always pop
Yeah.
up as like an ISTJ or something like that. So for me, that would be reliable. Valid in any sort of like outcomes? Apparently not. I haven't read the technical information in a long time, but apparently it's like rather scant. There is something. There's different issues here. So there's one as far as like ability to predict performance, etc. But from the perspective of like the FBI or criminal enforcement, they don't necessarily need to do that. What they need to do, and what we need to do in people analytics quite frequently, is just problem simplification. Just simplify the issues so that you can make a better choice or eliminate certain folks in this case. So in that instance, I understand why they would want to profile people using a personality profiling instrument, be it the MBTI. It wouldn't be that. It would be, whatever sort of behaviors that they're catching on to. But yeah, just problem simplification. Hell, like Jocelyn the other week talked about this. Her whole bit was like, hey, we have this sort of workforce planning issue. We need to compartmentalize and simplify the issues down to something we can actually deal with. Because otherwise, you just got too many variables, too many people, too much going on to actually make any sort of headway.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. But it looks like we got Jordan with us.
Jordan,
Jordan, how you doing, girl?
I am good. I am in the office on a Friday, but it's nice and quiet, so definitely can't complain.
Well, I want to say a big thank you to you for joining us on short notice.
I just love that it's the one time I have my phone in my pocket. I look up, I have like 3 missed calls from Cole, an email that says check your phone. Look at my Apple Watch. I'm like, oh my gosh. But this is kind of funny. I saw a video, I think it was last night, and it was like some weird opportunity, like once in a lifetime, is going to come up sometime soon. And like I always take those with a grain of salt, of course, but I think they're kind of harmless and funny when they come up.
it's
And
good science. It's good science.
right. And then the first
Was
text
it
I
a fortune
it,
cookie?
I no, it was just a video on social media that
Oh, okay.
came up on my feed. But it was funny because I opened my messages and it's like, hey, I have a proposal, and I'm like, must have been what they were talking about.
They knew. They knew.
They
Are,
did.
are you attached to your phone? Because like you and I had the exact same morning, but we approached it very differently. We just talked about this.
So I have anxiety. I'm not ashamed of it. I think it can definitely be a good thing, a good motivator. And so I don't know that I'm necessarily attached to my phone, but I do wear my Apple Watch, so everything's just constantly
Oh
coming
yes,
up.
yes.
So that probably fuels the anxiety. But I feel like I'm kind of constantly attached to it, regardless if I'm like actively holding it or.
Is it like FOMO? Like what if you
Oh,
get
I'm a
invited to a premiere podcast
listen.
today?
I'm a people pleaser. I don't like responding slow. I would like to say I'm in recovery, but that's not true.
I actually like what you were saying about the anxiety. Before you joined, we were just talking about this video I watched about a CIA analyst who tries to like profile people, and he in that video he actually talked about the CIA selects for people with anxiety because they're more vigilant and they're
Oh
more
wow.
likely to like suss out like I guess like counter spies. I don't know what the right word is, but like other people who might be trying to pull one over on the CIA. And so I thought that was fascinating. I was like, yeah, there are benefits to anxiety.
I mean, it aligns with attachment theory. The
Oh, say more
anxiously
about that.
attached. Yeah, the anxiously attached. That's my attachment style, so this is why I know this. When you're anxiously attached, you almost get like this additional sense of like intuition, but really it's because you're so anxious in connections that you are like constantly over analyzing. So like, I'd love to say there's been a breakup that hasn't blindsided or that has blindsided me, but that's definitely not the truth. Like I can tell almost immediately with like certainty when something's not going to go right in a relationship or someone's feeling differently towards me because of my anxious attachment style. So I can definitely see like being able to suss things out because our mind is like, it's not conscious. Well, I mean, some of it is, of course, but
Well,
we're constantly analyzing.
it's a continuum, right? So like you could be
Right.
vigilant and like analyze information. On the other hand, you like seeing ghosts, right? Seeing things that aren't actually there, connecting dots
Okay,
that
I do
could
not
not
do
be.
that.
Wouldn't it be cool to see ghosts though? I mean, like really, like
Like a cat.
I
do
think it would
cats
be
see
cool if
ghosts?
they weren't scary. Like if it was like just like I don't know. I know there's certain towns like across the United States where you can see people like dressed in like period clothing, like really historical stuff, and then they'll realize like that was a ghost.
Sure,
Ghost.
they're not Mennonites.
I literally are you talking about I know what you're talking about. Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, okay.
Jordan will get a kick out of this. There was a commercial during college football this year for Slack, and it's like that little like little like that sound that it makes. And every time I heard that, I would like kind of like kind of freak out. It's like someone's messaging me.
Yeah,
Talk about anxiety from messaging.
Oh
no
yeah,
kidding.
the team sound that
Oh,
will
that
kind of like
gets
never
you.
go away. Yeah.
Well, I want to take a second just to thank you, Jordan. So, this was a last minute ask. Our today's guest got sick, and so we're pushing him back a little bit. So we don't have much of an agenda. But I was looking in, for new listeners to the pod because I was like, well, I'm sure everybody knows Jordan, but I realized it's been 55 episodes since you were on the podcast, Jordan. You were episode number 23. So I am super thankful that you were able to come back. Love that you're a friend of the pod. You've been really cool to me. I know Scott's a big fan of yours as well. And so I don't know what's been going on since we last spoke.
Yes, I think Scott might be less of a fan since I accidentally sent him to an empty room during Taurios and he
What?
never came back.
That is
Apologies for
true.
that
You
again.
did him a favor.
Yeah. You don't
I
realize
was like,
how
yeah, we're going upstairs. What are you talking about? And then I realized very soon we were not going upstairs, and Scott definitely went upstairs. But
it was
yeah.
very similar to when someone say like books your calendar with their vacation time, and it's like your whole calendar's blocked. It's like that is found gold. We are not removing this from a calendar at all. We're just not available for that day.
Oh my gosh, two types of people. That would not be a good thing for me. I'd be like, come on, get this off. um, so yeah, what's been going on with me? I would say, new year, new me. Been
Do you
consistently
have a New Year's
working out.
resolution?
Yeah, so I do a word every year. Um, and my word this year is consistency. So kind
Mm.
of going back to like Atomic Habits, I really love that book. So really listening to that and just trying to remember that it not every change like has to be grandiose. It just needs to be consistent and
What's
like
the
one
thesis of that?
percent
It's just
better.
like micro behaviors lead to macro results. That sort of deal.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been working out every day. Um, I do have like caveats. Like if I am traveling somewhere over 2.5 hours, that's a pass. If I'm sick, I just had food poisoning beginning of this week. I was not. I could barely even eat, so I definitely wasn't going to go work out. Um, so giving myself grace, but also being consistent and not letting my feelings determine if I'm going to reach my goals.
Yeah.
Like it was a video I saw recently, and this girl was like, your goals don't really care how you feel. So why are you asking yourself, or like, why are you saying I don't feel like going to the gym?
Yeah.
Like, it, take your feelings out of it. And I thought that was really interesting.
You're going to be relentless, Jordan. You're going to be
What can I
unstoppable.
say?
Things we don't really talk about that much are just the ability to focus. That's one of the biggest downfalls I see in people and their ability to get ahead or perform anything, because they get like scatterbrained or like get focused on too many different things. But like the ability to sit down, focus, and just like put pen to paper, whatever it is, whatever kind of cliche you want to talk about.
I do
That seems to be like
tend
the critical skill that people need to have.
I've already like had to cut back on like all the things I wanted to be consistent in. Of course, like over
Yeah.
time, I think it'll get easier to add on. So just starting out with the gym has been good.
It's like Maslow's hierarchy. You got to take care of the body, then you'll
Right.
wind up with the rest.
But that's been new. Also, the nice, stunning news I got this past weekend.
Yeah, you told me this yesterday, and I was just floored by it.
Yes.
What for us that don't know? What is this?
Yes. So I was at my cousin's baby shower this weekend, and his sister was like, "Hey, I wasn't going to tell y'all this to me and my younger sister, Brooklyn." So this is our cousin Paige, and I'm with my younger sister, Brooklyn. She was like, "I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I'm going to tell y'all. I matched with someone on Ancestry.com. Our DNA matched, and I've never heard of her before. And her profile said she was adopted, so I reached out and asked, like, hey, do you know how we're related?" And the girl replied and was like, since I was adopted and it was a closed adoption, I don't know much other than my parents' names. Do you know Charles Hartley? Which is my dad, which means I have another sibling. So
Wait. Okay.
she said it very casually too. She was just like, yeah. I'm like, what? I've lived almost 3 decades of my life already not knowing this person even existed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My first question was your dad like one of these guys that has like another family in another city and like never told you guys about it? Like, or are you the other family? Like what?
No,
what's going on
all the siblings. So me and my younger sister, we have the same dad and mom. All my siblings, we have the same dad. All 5 of us. Me and Brooklyn have the same mom. Then my sister Morgan and my brother Hunter have the same mom. And now my oldest sister Natalie has another mom. And so we all have the same dad. But, so no secret family or anything like that. It was like in chronological order. I will, without getting into too much details, because let's be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to know, the story from her biological mom or my dad's point of view, like the actual truth, Um, and so my dad didn't know it was his kid. He definitely knew that she had got pregnant because she had him and, um, other people sign their rights away in case they were the father, because she wanted to give the baby up for adoption. And they were very, very young in college, like freshman or sophomore. And so I don't think like
Go dad.
mother or fathers were in the place to raise a kid. So,
wait, I'm just like a caveman. I think that both of y'all are privy to this. I don't understand. So both of y'all took a 23andMe.
No, my cousin did. My first
cousin did.
Yes, and she's on my dad's side of the family. And she matched with this girl, Natalie, who turns out to be my dad's first kid that he did not know about until this weekend. Yeah.
Wow, that's really talk about the externalities. Oh my gosh.
What's really funny is based on the little bit of information I learned from her Ancestry.com profile while I was looking at my cousin's phone, I found this girl on LinkedIn. I messaged. She had less than 45 connections, so already not looking good.
Yeah,
her picture also didn't really look like her Ancestry.com picture, right? Like, I don't know this girl, so I'm like, these look like 2 different people. But she speaks like 10 different languages, and she had polyglot. Is that the word? I just learned it this weekend. It means that you speak a lot of languages. That wasn't her title, so I was like, oh, okay, name matches. That is very specific. Like, this is probably her. And so I messaged her, subject line, Charles Hartley, body, I think you're my half-sister. And I didn't think she was going to see it ever. She replied. So this is how she found out she has 4 siblings.
Oh my God.
So thank you, LinkedIn. Wow. Out here getting me jobs, finding my family members, doing the most.
What is she? Does she seem like you? Like, is she like a bubbly personality and like analytics maven, or what? Is she?
Yeah, they say
She's
things are
she's
largely heritable.
obviously like extremely smart, right? You can't speak 10 languages without being
Yeah.
So
an
just like
intelligent
you,
person.
right?
What can I say? Hey. But on a serious note, one thing I found, I don't know enough about her personality yet. Like she just
Yeah.
got added to the sibling group chat last night.
Well, you
And
know
so
that
like
she
Big
messaged
deal.
right away, so like you tell you a little bit already. She's on it.
listen, she's great. So I don't know too much about her personality yet. I can tell she's like kind of funny because we'll all be joking around in the text, like kind of roasting each other. And she's like, "Cool, I fit right in."
Hey, new
Um,
sibling, you're
yeah,
ugly.
I know. I'm like, how long do we call her our new sister? Because actually, she's been around the longest. Which is,
Yeah,
anyways.
absolutely.
One thing I did find super interesting. So, me, my older sister Morgan, who has a different mom than me, and a different mom than Natalie, all three of us, with different moms but all the same dad, we all at some point were an architect, wanted to be an architect, or were studying architecture.
Yes.
Oh,
That
fascinating.
is so
Yes.
specific, I feel like. And like, with all those twin studies that have been done and twins separated at birth, they'll have weird coincidences like they smoke the same cigarettes, their wives have the same first name, the way they do something is like so oddly specific.
Oh, you've seen
Things
that
like
movie
that.
with the triplets, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen
I,
that. We also watched one. So I think, yeah, the triplets one, that was like,
I can't remember the
that's the
name
one
of it,
that's
but
like
that
kind of
movie was
unethical, right?
fascinating.
But we watched one in grad school, like in class, and oh my gosh, I can't remember what this class was. It was definitely coming from an IO psych perspective,
Mhm.
this class. Stephen Courtwright's class. I cannot remember what it was, though.
What do you think about architecture that makes it attractive and potentially amongst the three of you?
Yeah, so with Natalie and I, we're both very artistic. That's
Mhm.
something I've also learned. And so with architecture, of course, that comes into play. Like, you need some sort of inclination towards like design and
Ar-
artistry.
Architecture is just art you live in.
I guess so. Lots of
I
straight
like that.
lines.
Is that like a famous saying, or did you just come up with that?
No, it's from a TV show called The Librarians.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's funny.
It's
Um,
clever.
with Morgan, I'm not quite sure what her um, motivation towards it was, but she actually studied architecture up until her junior year of college, and then changed her major. So she had to stay a bit longer.
Yeah,
So that's not fun, but
they work those architecture kids, man. They
oh yeah.
boy, like you go to the architecture room, they're in there
All night.
morning to night. Yeah,
Yep.
all the time.
Honestly, the reason I didn't go into architecture, I will never forget this. I was in math class with the sub one day. And he was like, "What do you want to do when you're older?" And I was like, "I want to be an architect." And he said, "Get used to long hours and poverty." I said, "That sounds like something I would not thrive in." Never mind.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the architecture school at University of Texas as well, but they only allow like 30 kids in a year, and like that led me out of that career path totally.
I mean, I got into petroleum engineering, so and A&M only lets like I think definitely less than 70 in, so it's not
Look at
impossible. I didn't do it, obviously.
just total
I
career
was not
switch after your petroleum
I
engineering.
was not good at engineering. I can't even lie. That was the first time that I truly felt like the one of the dumbest people in the room. I was like, "Why? How do y'all all get this?"
Right.
Okay, it's okay. It just wasn't for me. Here we are.
What's been going on the people analytics meetup front, Jordan? Any news for us?
Um,
What's new in
uh,
people analytics, Jordan?
Yeah, what's new?
Hit us with the
hey,
new
oh
shit.
yes. So most excitingly and recently, I got to go to the Bay Area People Analytics meetup in, of course, San Francisco at Workday. So that was super cool. Um, always been a big fan of Workday as a company ever since grad school because we, in our, I, I clearly cannot remember any of the names of any of the classes I took in grad school.
No worries.
But in this class we were assigned companies on the list of best employers, and the company my group was assigned to was Workday, and so we just like got to study like and present on like what's cool about working at Workday, what's great, why'd they make the list, what's unique. Um, I'm not gonna go into how that presentation went because it didn't really go that well. So we're not gonna go there.
It happens. It happens.
But
we've all been there. What
Yeah.
wait, what went wrong? What went wrong?
Yeah, was it a group dynamics
okay.
issue?
I
Well,
think
my
I think it's the crowd, not you. Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
the
always
crowd
blame
was
somebody else.
the crowd was being a little rambunctious, and my friend Kinsey
yes.
in my group started laughing. And when my friends are laughing, I can't not laugh.
Those
And so they
groundlings.
kept doing stuff, making her laugh, which made me laugh. And our professor, needless to say, was not very pleased. He gave me, I think, he actually is the reason I didn't get a 4.0 in grad school because he failed me for participation because of this. It's fine. I'm not bitter. I'm very bitter.
I don't think you could have participated any harder. That's total
Michael.
BS. Like representing.
You know what? In 2024, we are releasing bitterness, so I'm just gonna let it go.
So let it go.
But yeah, the meetup was really cool. It took me forever to get there. Forever.
Why?
I was traveling for like 8 hours or something because there was no direct flights. That either there's no direct. I don't think that's true though. There was none that day that would get me there in time or something like that. And so I had to fly out to Hollywood, wait an hour, get back on a flight to Oakland, then find an Uber, which was a pain, and it was raining and cold, and the time difference. So I'd already been up an additional 2 hours.
Yeah.
So all of that was kind of rough. And then being a girl, of course, you know, not that it's a requirement, but it kind of is like to get ready. So I also had to be ready. So I think I got ready for the event in the evening at like 10 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So anyways, it was really fun though. It was great meeting the team. They have a very cool dynamic over there. Very just themselves, which I love. And trust me, I've tried to not be myself at times. I do wish I was a little bit more shy occasionally.
Is this
I really do. But it was.
Wait, no. Tell us. Like, what would happen? Like, you're just like butterflying around.
I just say. Well, I just be saying things, you know. And sometimes I'm like, as it's coming out, I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, I suffer from
why
this
would you
too.
say that?
Definitely.
Or just like being like a little bit too weird, and you're like, I probably should have toned that one down.
Yeah.
See, this is why I think you're great, Jordan. You're highly authentic. You're an easy yes. Like I remember.
Oh, that's so nice.
Well, for the people who don't know, like Jordan and I lead the Dallas Fort Worth People Analytics meetup. And I remember when I asked for volunteers, Jordan's hand went up immediately. And just like, you volunteered immediately to come on the podcast this morning too, which I was really happy about. But one of the things that I thought was cool that you took away from that meetup that you brought back to the Dallas one is coming up with like operating principles for what are our tenets of the meetup. And so we came up with some for Dallas as a consequence of that. And I was excited. One of them being fun because Jordan is fun. And I think that's cool.
And there were other great ones like community,
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really great. It gave it structure without giving it structure. I know that's, of course,
it makes sense to
but
me. I get it.
Yeah, and another thing I really liked, and this plays into their values, but it was about being like inclusive. So if you're just interested in the people analytics space, or if you're adjacent, or just, whatever it is, like it's open to all. I thought that was really cool.
Fun fact, if you're talking about the Workday campus just outside of Oakland, I was at a Connected
Yes.
Commons meeting there once, and like during the break, someone spilled like their entire coffee over me. Like this like guy that's
Ooh.
like 7 foot tall, just like boom, just all over me. So I had to go to the bathroom, and like it was like burning hot.
Wait. So somebody spilled their coffee on you?
Yes,
Not.
correct,
Oh, that's
correct.
horrendous.
Like this guy that's like
Yeah.
tall as could be, and just like boom, just right on me.
Did you get in a fight?
No, it was clearly it wasn't nefarious by any means. It was just
Yeah.
an accident because like there's 50 people in this lobby that's 20 feet by 20 feet, and
Yeah.
it just happened, man. But like,
I
yeah, I
feel
had
like
to go to the bathroom. And
a few drips is acceptable, but like a
no,
whole
it was a
coffee.
whole ass hot
Oh
too,
man.
man. I didn't get burned though,
Okay.
but it
Yeah.
was hot.
How do you recover from that? Like, what do you do?
Actually, I'll tell you like my orientation. So like I went to the bathroom and like essentially they had to like douse my shirt. It was like a button up, clean it up as best as possible. And I realized, within like 30 seconds, it was totally an accident. And I wound up later. They had like dinner for us like 6 p.m. in their cafeteria or whatever, like catered, etc. And I just went down and had dinner with him, and like right next to him. Guy I'd never met before, but I don't even remember his name anymore. But he's a super nice guy, and obviously just very contrite about the situation. But that's
Yeah.
what I take away from the Workday campus outside of Oakland.
Did you have anybody spill anything on you, Jordan?
No. Honestly, I'm so clumsy. I'm surprised I didn't do that.
Well, I mean, you also like, in addition to being a leader of the DFW People Analytics meetings, you're also the chair of the Dallas Castilian Club. Cotillion.
Cotillion. Yes. Interestingly enough, I'm really not sure why it's called that. It was founded back in the 40s.
I thought that was
Because
for like kids to learn how to dance with each other
so
and do manners
Oh,
and
I thought it
things.
was to learn
yes,
what all the
cotillions
forms
like
were.
Yeah.
traditional cotillions, like where you wear like the white dress at the end and you're a debutante, which I did. I've done that cotillion before
Oh,
Okay.
back
I
in high
believe it.
school.
I believe it.
Um, anyways, but this
Jordan's got that
is not
Southern
at all
belle sort of.
associated with that. What can I say? Houston, Texas, born and raised. um, but yeah, it's not anything like that. It's not associated with cotillion. Maybe it used to be. I'm not sure there. But yeah, I sit on the board.
Is it like a dinner
It
party group? What do you do?
no, so it's a women's organization in Dallas, social org. So it
Oh.
fosters like inclusivity, friendship, community, but it's a nonprofit, and so all the proceeds go towards our local philanthropy, which is Genesis Women's Shelter, and they provide support and services and a safe place to go for women and children trying to escape domestic abuse.
That's
So
fantastic that you guys do that.
yeah, it's really cool. We actually had someone from the shelter come speak at Southwest for. We celebrate different things each month. Like, and this month was like we were celebrating like women. We have DEI celebrations, is what I'm
Mhm.
getting at. And what for our women's celebration, we had someone from Genesis Women's Shelter come speak to us, and it was completely unrelated to cotillion, but it was really cool to
Yeah.
hear that conversation in the workplace because it's obviously not a fun, lighthearted thing to talk about,
Well, talk about a word I can never spell. Like if you said, Cole, can you spell cotillion properly on the first try? We'll give you $1 million. I could not spell it.
What do you get out of that? Like, I mean, like you're a leader of the DFW People Analytics and a leader in the Cotillion. Like, what do you get out of like leading these groups?
Yeah, so I'm very others oriented, servant hearted, and so it just fills my cup. I think there's a fine line in terms of you can get like compassion fatigue, and so I have to be careful to make sure that I also take care of myself and I'm not just completely pouring myself out for others or other causes. But yeah, for at least Cotillion, I guess for both, they're on a volunteer basis. So the only thing I really have to give to it is my time. But
It's a valuable
they're
commodity.
both really great causes. I am always leave happy, and I'm sure I'm definitely better for both those groups. So
Wonderful networking opportunities too, I'm sure.
yeah, I've made some really great friends in Cotillion. I've made some great connections at our DFW meetups. And so, yeah, I think it's all just kind of found its way to me. And it's all worked out really well.
Did you design them a new logo?
I did not.
Oh.
No, I do run all the social media now. Woo, let me tell you, that's a busy job.
Is it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Gladly, of course, gladly I'll do it, and I have the skill set to do it. But it's a lot of. I got to make a lot of graphics.
Wow. Well, Scott, I don't even know. Do we have a confusion matrix today?
I will cobble one together. This is we'll do some super random. How about that?
The confusion matrix.
Yeah, so you're the perfect guest for super random.
Super random. This is
Not anything.
okay, let's see. So these are questions that I just jotted down throughout, I don't know, the past few months, and like I'll just try and hit some that I find interesting. Okay. This is for both of you, by the way. So anyone can answer, just go ahead. Do you love gossip? Oh.
I mean,
Go ahead, Cole.
I think we know the answer. Jordan literally, when she told me the thing about her sister yesterday, she said, "Cole, I've got the best gossip for you." What is it? And I was like,
Okay. To be fair, one of our previous meetings, Cole was like, "I like to gossip. I know you like to gossip."
Yeah.
So it's just a what?
definitely-
Okay, there's a caveat for me though. I don't like pointless gossip. Like,
Yeah,
no,
Oh,
Mom, I
oh.
don't care about what Wendy down the street did with those kittens she found. No offense. I'm sure it was a great story. I do not care. I already have 70,000 thoughts at once. I don't need this pointless information. Like,
I really want to know what Wendy's doing with those kittens, though.
listen, I don't even know who Wendy is.
we're already bought in. Like, we're hook, line, and sinker. What's going on with Wendy?
Yeah.
Watch, you're gonna
We
get an
gotta
email.
know.
This is Wendy.
I want to know what Wendy's got going on in her house. Definitely.
So I take it you're into gossip too, right, Scott?
I mean, I think gossip gets a bad rap, right? Like it's essentially stories about other people, but it's a social lubricant and it's a social. It keeps
There's
people in
malicious
line as well.
gossip. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's going on.
Have you ever heard gossip about yourself that surprised you? You're like, oh, what did I do next?
Yes.
Nah. I always expect the worst.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no. I definitely have.
It's like they're messing my story up. Like they're telling it all wrong. That's not how it happened at all.
Yeah. Well, if somebody does stomp on a good story, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It was way more interesting than that.
I saw this video recently of this little troublemaker child. She's 4, and the parents are carrying her out of a little kid. This is barely gossip, but the parents are carrying her out a little children's play thing, and the girl's so obstinate. She's like, "I did not pinch her," and she's like, "I did not pinch her. I hit her." Left, and I was like, "Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Tell your own gossip."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, question 2. Do you share food, at a table? So someone eat off your plate.
Yeah.
I don't prefer it.
Oh,
I will.
Protective of his food.
Grudgingly. Well, this was a product of my upbringing, though. My brother would always try to take the food on my plate. So I've always been very protective of the food because I was like, he's going to take it, I don't know. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I think that's
everyone just go
again
ham on
the helpful
your...
demeanor. I literally love being helpful. So if someone wants my food, I'm like, yes, take it. Here you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think this is how you were raised. I think that this falls on family lines as far as Cole had to protect his food or eat super fast just to make sure he had nourishment.
Seriously.
or like
Dude,
someone will like spit on it or something if you don't eat it right now.
well, I don't know if it was that bad, but what about you? Do you share, Scott? Or I said that wrong, but like, are
Yeah, I hear
you?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Like if someone were to like take a French fry or something off my plate, I wouldn't think twice about it. But I
yeah.
have seen people like flip out, flip out about it.
Joey.
What's up?
Joey on Friends. There's a whole episode about this.
Do you have a problem feeling proud?
Um, you go,
Yes.
Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Yes and no. I I think I'm neutral yes.
Neutrally, yes. Okay.
I think I don't have a feeling necessarily being proud. I struggle with showing that without feeling like I'm taking up too much space or being annoying or being braggadocious. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's what I
you know,
struggle with too. It's like I'll do things, but I would never tell people that I did them or like think about sharing it in that way, which is probably like a personality disorder, really.
Is it?
Yeah, I should think so. Like I hear people brag about shit that's like I wouldn't even talk about that.
Yeah, that
Like
too.
that's not even a thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to a lot of it's where do you get your validation from?
Mm,
Do you seek external validation? This also can,
that's very
I mean,
true. Good point.
mostly ties back to your childhood. If you were, you know,
Yeah.
seeking that validation and didn't get it, you'll likely seek it externally, which I definitely do a bit. I've grown a ton in the past, I would say decade. And so I rely more on like my opinion of me and like
Yeah.
how I view myself and my accomplishments. But that's not to say that's the way I was like wired.
Proud is a loaded word, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of it which is very healthy and needed around like, do I have like self worth, right? Do I
Right.
feel like I'm
Mm,
okay with that? And I feel like I'm decent in that regard. I think when I was younger, I was a little bit more insecure about a lot of that stuff. When I say a little, I mean a lot. But in terms of the other part of it, there's like an ego part of proud. Like, pride comes before the fall, like
yeah,
that. And
it's like
that's
it's like hubris.
yeah, it's like hubris, and that's where I mean that's actually one of the reasons why I had my New Year's resolution for this year of like giving credit to others. Is like I feel like I'm trying to combat pride and hubris and try to be like a better person, kind of that thing. And so I don't know, I've struggled with that for sure.
Okay, two more. Have you ever been on TV?
I mean, I did try out for The Bachelor,
What?
but they did
Whoa!
not.
Wait,
Like
what?
hold the
Whoa! Whoa!
phone. What?
Whoa! What?
Oh, this video is so embarrassing. I'm sure I could probably find it
Oh,
too.
give me some more details. We're gonna go looking for this.
Uh, I doubt it's out there. They didn't even call me. Granted, it
Okay,
was at
okay,
the
let's start from the beginning. Like what? Like you're watching
so
The
embarrassing.
Bachelor, and they're like, "Hey, if you want to be on The Bachelor,
No, I mean, I'm an open book, so I'll literally tell
let's
you
do
anything.
it."
But I was in like serious relationship, really, really like in love, loved this guy, and he
He
broke up
gave
with
you a
me.
rose.
He actually did. It
That's
was
how you
covered
knew.
in 24 karat gold. It was preserved, and I loved that thing. I actually just threw it away
Oh no!
recently.
Oh no!
Well, I was like, okay, this is kind of weird to still have this, even though it's
Such
really
a
pretty.
wild conversation.
Yeah, this is Jordan. This is how things go with me.
Uh,
Anyways, so head over heels, but then he broke up with me. Had his own battles going on,
That
whatever. And my
makes
cousin was like, "Absolutely not. You're not gonna." It's the same cousin who is the one who matched DNA with my now new sister. She was like, "Absolutely not. Like, I am nominating you for The Bachelor." She's a photographer in DFW, a very successful one. And so she was like, "You're coming over this day." She took this so seriously. Like, I had a professional photo shoot. Um, she used her professional, like, very, very nice camera for all the videoing. Um, I mean, her closet was open to me. She paid to get my makeup. It was a full production. I cannot believe they didn't call me. I mean, I would have
I'm
put me in
with
the
you.
show.
I'm with you.
I think you've got the spunk, girl. I think The Bachelor made a mistake. You know.
Oh, they totally blew it, but it was Pilot Pete season, and that was a hot mess. So, dodged a
Okay,
bullet there.
it happens.
If it would have been Tyler as the Bachelor and I didn't make it on, I would have been picketing, rioting. They
I
would
don't
have
even know
heard
who
from me.
Tyler is.
Oh, okay. Well, he was one of the, I would say, contenders for being the Bachelor because he was on the
Okay.
Bachelorette and got second.
Got it.
Little known fact: Cole like applied to be the Bachelor.
I did not. That never happened. It doesn't matter
The
how
Golden Bachelor?
professional. Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
That burned. But
man, what the hell?
I mean, I don't think a
Just kidding.
professional camera is going to make me look any better to submit for one of these videos. So I think that ship is. It never even got to port to sail off.
The consistency in your family line is incredible, from like design to architecture to photography. It's all sort of artistically focused.
Yeah, on both sides too. My mom's late brother Jim, was very artistic. One of his daughters, Jennifer. I mean, I'm sure more than one of them, but Jennifer's extremely artistic. She's a graphic designer. I do that. Paige does a lot of like graphic design work. She's on my dad's side, and so yeah, it is kind of interesting that
Those genetics flow straight from
yeah. Well, a lot of us have ADHD, so I
Hartley.
wonder if it has something to do with that.
Scott, would you do The Bachelor? Would you be actually, here's a good question. Would you rather be the Bachelor or one of the contestants who's trying to get the Bachelorette?
I think you got to be the one making the decisions, right? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Well, I couldn't imagine being like in a dorm with like 30 other dudes. Like that first is like a no go. Like, I just don't want to deal with Frederico, who's always working out or whatever, and like it's a whole issue. I think you got to be the one handing the roses, not the one trying to vie for the rose.
Nice.
Well, and I think there's like an interesting psychological aspect to it of like everyone wants the one thing. And so I feel like when it's that way, regardless, even if the interactions were the same on either side, I feel like you fall harder when you're the one trying to go for the one person. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Life is
Motivated
a guy.
reasoning. Yeah.
Okay, last one. So this is super random. We're all from the South, or lived in sort of country areas for a while. Have you ever shot a potato gun?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, then.
I've shot a t-shirt cannon.
Does that count? Yeah. I mean, it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, I mean they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've shot t-shirts out of them. That's fun.
Like, the only thing I can think of is like the little gun, like mop guns they'd give to kids that like pop. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is like a very bad explanation.
Like a pop gun? Just like
a BB gun?
Boop.
Okay, definitely not that serious. I'm talking about like stuff you could hand this to a toddler.
Like
they're like wooden, and it's got like this little orange stopper that it makes a loud pop noise.
A little cork on the end of the barrel. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's right. One thing I did as a kid a lot. I don't think I ever did this potato gun thing, but my mom would take us to Bass Pro Shop, and we'd put the little quarters in and play the game where you shoot all the little laser points. I'm like, this is so Texas.
Yeah, I was like, we talk about the Waffle House on here, and like one of the things we figured out is we have like a lot of people who listen to us from overseas, and we're talking about Waffle Houses on here and now Bass Pro Shops. I'm like, these references are not going to make sense to anyone.
If you're from like Germany or like Belarus, and like you came to Texas, like I would take you to Bass Pro Shop just to marvel.
It's like, a cultural experience.
Look, there's a fish tank as big as a house.
Yeah. Or
and
Buc-ee's.
You can't.
That's a whole experience.
Yeah, we've talked about Buc-ee's plenty of times.
Okay, wait, I have one for y'all. That's
just do it.
Kind of similar vibe of like rapid fire or whatever comes to mind, but we're gonna go a little Gen Z here. And it's a trendy thing. And so it's basically the premise is we're in people analytics. Of course we, and you fill in the blank. So like,
Wait, what?
Oh, is it from those videos you see where like we're
we
dinks,
work at Southwest Airlines. Of course we celebrate your first day.
Yeah.
Or like something like that. Like it's supposed to be like a little tongue in cheek, like kind of funny.
Okay.
We're
Like,
in Dallas. Of course we don't know how to drive.
of course,
That's
our
a
hair
great
is
one.
big. Yeah.
So what is
Of
it?
course I
We're Gen
belong.
Z and people analytics. Of
No,
course
no, no,
we.
no. I was just saying we were going a little Gen Z on this because it's like a
Okay.
trendy
Okay.
social media thing. But we're in people analytics. Of course we. ... Okay, I can do mine.
Yeah.
Complain about the data quality.
Hey, no,
data
you got to do the
access.
full. You got to commit to this, Scott. We're in people analytics. Of course, we connected on LinkedIn about 7 years before we met.
That's true. Yeah.
Of course, we're in people analytics. Of course, I friend you on LinkedIn. I'll never see you ever again, or
What?
hear
Our
from you
community's
ever
so
again.
small.
We're in people, Alex. Of course, we're going to argue over really, really minute differences that make no impact on reality.
Oh yeah.
With FP&A,
Yeah.
mostly. Parentheses.
I don't know. That's my best shot at it, Jordan. I'm not Gen Z enough.
We're in people.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to do on the fly, but it's funny.
You already called me the Golden Bachelor. Jesus. Come on.
Come on. You know how often I get asked if I'm still in high school?
Really? Wow.
Yes.
You know, like I thought it's my people analytics kryptonite is when someone comes up with like a 4-quad color chart and like they're like, here's our model, and it's like you're a red, blue, green, or a yellow, and we're gonna put you in a bucket there, and like this is it could be personality, it could be how they orient to the organization, it could be like all sorts of things. But I see that 4-quad chart and they're all different colors. I'm like, oh god, we're in for it now. This thing is not gonna work. Nothing about this is valid.
It's team building. Yay.
Yay, you're a connector group. You're like, oh, okay. What does that mean? Like, it's the same as all the other groups, but
it's all like
funny thing on that, I worked at a very process heavy company one time, and I had taken this personality test, and everyone would put them on their laptop at this specific company, and I got 0% process on personality.
You're highly creative and generative.
I said, yeah, this makes a lot of sense because,
Yeah.
you know, I think after, you know, this short stint, I will be moving on. But that was a good example of like, yeah, not a fit.
Yeah. When you were on the podcast last time, Jordan, did the nerdery even exist then? I don't even remember.
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes, because we talked about women being cold in offices and how it makes it impacts our productivity and performance. And I use a rigid blanket at work now because I'm so miserable without it.
Women's winter.
Yeah.
As they call it.
Let's do some nerdery. How about that?
Let's do it.
The nerdery.
This is about who is leaving and why. And it's from the Academy of Management Journal, from a few authors about the dynamics of high quality human capital outflows, which is a very jargony way of saying, because this is some really fascinating research, that they found multiplier effects of worker turnover. And what they mean by multiplier is if a low performer exits the organization, that leads to more low performers quitting as a consequence. And if high performers leave the organization, that leads to more high performers leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So there's these multiplier effects that go on. And they found that there's differential effects on the type of dismissal, right? So if it's a dismissal, a layoff, or voluntary turnover, each of those leads to different levels of turnover. Kind of, I think we've called it contagion before on here, but I guess we'll call it multipliers for this article. And with layoffs leading to the highest level of turnover. I thought this was a fascinating article. They used it on 1,600 retail stores over 22 months. So obviously, may not have applicability outside of the service sector. here, but still really like large sample size, really great data, and some really interesting findings. Did you guys have a chance to look through this one?
I did not read it because I'm not a team player. Would you repeat the part about the layoffs?
Yeah, so they looked at different types of, I guess what you might call like stimuli, the different types of things that lead to other people quitting. So
Yeah,
one would be a dismissal. I think what they're defining dismissal as is like somebody who's let go for poor performance, right? And then there were layoffs, which would presumably be, somewhat random. You're
right.
just, letting a certain percentage of people go. And then there's traditional voluntary attrition. And what they found is layoffs led to more voluntary attrition than any of the other types of people leaving the organization. But they
I mean,
also
that makes
found,
complete sense to me
yeah,
from Survivor, the impact
Yeah,
of
survivor
what's it
guilt.
called? Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Uh,
if you're laying off, you're going to start thinking about, you're going to start doing more counterproductive work behaviors like gossiping with your coworkers about, hey, what's the state of our company? What do you think this means? Um, on top of survivor's guilt, on top of, maybe your mind is elsewhere because of the anxiety that comes with that. Um, I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I
the, the,
mean,
the
go
thing
on.
I took away is how damaging it is to organizations if their high performers start to leave. Because
Right.
if they start, it's going to be very, very challenging to curb that flow. Um, and so you might want to be very mindful of doing things like layoffs because they're going to have consequences throughout the business if they're somewhat random in nature. And so I thought this was some really fascinating and relevant research considering what's been going on over the last year with layoffs and that type of thing.
My mind immediately turns to turnover contagion, which you alluded to earlier, and it makes sense. Like, so if low performers start turning over, or you get one turnover, they're more likely through homophily to be connected to other low performers. It's just the way the world tends to work. They tend to be connected to people that are like them, and therefore you see an outflow of low performers. Same thing on the high performer end. So high performers tend to be connected to other high performers, and therefore you see like an outflow there. But the high performers is more insidious in the sense of like there could be systemic issues going on in that the organization may be set up to support low performers, i.e., make life more difficult for high performers to actually
Yep.
perform. And then once you get a certain number of high performers flowing out of the organization, who gets heaped with all the work that the say low performers can't perform or refuse to perform, etc. Is those people that are already performing the job well, they get delegated to, and they get crushed on the weight. Like
Yeah, it
I'm out of
snowballs.
here too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
The layoffs is really interesting phenomenon too. I think it has to do or hypothesized it would relate to this issue as well, like just more work for fewer people as well. So like people just give up, throw their hands up in the air.
Yeah. It's like they have to solve a problem they did not create. It's like, and you're not
Yeah.
paying me any extra. Why do I have to have additional headache and heartache? Which actually, I don't know. Now that I'm saying it out loud, does relate to my everybody gets paid the same theory, that's an oldie but a goodie because it talks about miscellaneous heartache. As it increases, your pay better increase, or people are going to quit. So yeah,
Yeah, you get paid in proportion to the problems that you solve.
correct. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think it highlights like the insidious nature of, as you said, like turnover and the decisions that you make and the ramifications that you may not be aware of that could stem from it. Like, so you're trying to solve a micro issue and create a macro problem,
Mhm.
i.e., you let go of a few high performers. Next thing you know, you got no high performers,
Absolutely.
i.e., you got no performance.
You want to hit the next one?
Sure, let's do it. Okay. We never really talked about this. Like actually delegating tasks. We just kind of like hit on that for a moment.
You find it.
Uh, but this article is titled "Not Very Competent but Connected." So the study explores how managers delegate tasks to employees, and they essentially use social connectedness in friend groups to as a signal of competence. So in situations where the person is clearly high competent or low competent, they know to either delegate or not delegate tasks. But if the employee subordinate below them is either connected to the highly central in the business unit friend group, or connected to the same types of people that the manager is connected to, they're more likely to use that as a signal of competence and delegate tasks to them. It's based in signaling theory, and and this is less prominent clearly in situations where competence is clearly noted. Really kind of fascinating way of how managers would view the workforce, or kind of use these sort of secondary signals to someone's competence and ability to perform a task.
Yeah, I think there's been research before that has shown the relationship between delegation and trust,
Yeah,
right? Like managers having to have that trust. And I'm glad you're bringing this up. We don't talk very much, even though there's a ton of science out there on leadership. We just haven't, for whatever reason, talked about it very much on here. And I'd written an article a while back about doing leadership analytics, and I went and revisited it because of this article from some of the research that Hogan personality had done. And one of the things that they showed is that folks that are most likely to be promoted into management are highly diligent individuals. So they're highly detail oriented. They very conscientious. They can kind of try to control a process end to end.
got their TPS reports, got their
Correct.
name.
So when they get promoted into management, then they fail to delegate
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
such control freaks. And so the number one predictor of being promoted is the number one reason for why someone is a micromanager. And it's really difficult to unlearn those behaviors. And so I thought that that was fascinating. I think it's very related to this type of research. And one of the things that they talked about is the only type of situation where they know that a manager's never going to delegate is when a person is a poor performer. I'm like, absolutely, do not delegate to this poor performer. So I thought this article was great, and I'm glad we're talking about this topic.
I mean, it's so true that the sort of skill sets that are needed at the, say, entry level, obviously as a IC, are different from like first line manager, which are different from middle level manager all the way up to senior leader, and sort of the things that you would delegate, or like sort of like the big projects that you would let go of. And I think you're absolutely right about the trust aspect as well. This article actually makes sense from a perspective of like, this person is central in the employee network and has, like, say, the same friends as me. That almost acts like a social bond that person is going to do a good job, because they don't want to let down those other people, because it's reputation damage at that point, right? If you don't do a good job on the task that you're delegated with, it's going to get around the office.
Well, tell me, because I don't know if I read it closely enough to know the answer to this, or if the research would even know this, but is it saying that a more connected node or person in a network is more likely to be delegated to because of that trust factor or because of the connection factor they have with others?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the social network is a means or a proxy measure for
Hmm.
competence in ambiguous situations.
Got it.
So this person is trusted, i.e., trusted. They're connected to other people, therefore they have some sort of clout around them, and therefore they can be trusted to deliver on this task. Uh, it's all, there's all like other insidious aspects that are not hit on in this article, like, once again, like delegating too much to that person,
Yep.
or delegating all the worst assignments to one person. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, that person's more likely to leave, or I see this quite frequently. People that are long tenured in an organization, they once again, they go to their social network, the people that they know the most,
Hmm.
and they delegate to that same person over and over, and like essentially get like a stale network, when you could, say, develop a low competent person into
Yeah.
something, give them some provided coaching, etc.
Well, Jordan, you're incredibly well networked. Do you get delegated to very much?
So what's interesting right now is I'm on a very high performing team.
Hmm.
Um, and as much as I would love to say I am the top of the top, there are people like incredibly well networked inside of Southwest.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but I can absolutely see this uh, playing into it. Like, the people that are really well networked are also some of our best performers are
Yeah.
also delegated to often.
I mean, they're
And
the people that
so,
also know where the bodies lie, and et cetera, just because they know so many different
exactly.
people. Yeah.
Honestly, there is someone in my greater department that's not on the people analytics team, but I normally just, if I have a question and I have no clue who would answer this, I just ask them and they reply within minutes with the answer. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
this person's better than Google. I'm not looking on the internet. I'm pinging them.
We should talk about this sometime in more depth, Cole, because like knowledge of organizational history and just like knowing that organizational knowledge is so valuable, and like you can bring in external talent, et cetera, but knowing the history of the org and the culture and like why things work and why they won't work.
When it's valuable to those who don't have it, it's almost anti-valuable to those who have it because they're almost penalized for it
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
for having it. So I think that's fascinating for
You get like
sure.
pigeonholed into specific area if people become aware of your knowledge set.
Correct. Or anytime somebody's getting onboarded, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be their onboarding buddy." You're like, "Great!" The 17th person I had to do
Yeah.
this for, you know. But yeah.
You
Well,
want to do one more? Or you want to skip it?
let's do one more. I think we can do it fast because I know nothing about Doctor Who, and I couldn't read the article because it was a paywall one. So I have a screenshot of it to show what it looks like. But yeah, you want to tee it up, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Jordan, she's always talking about Doctor Who. She's a big old Doctor Who fan, right?
Could not tell you who that is.
Okay,
You're like,
so
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who? Question mark. So, for anyone out there that doesn't know, Doctor Who is a sci-fi character who the show's been going on since like 1963, and they replace the Doctor every few years. Irrelevant, but that's why the show can last for 60 something years. And in the UK, there's typically a Christmas special, and but some years there's not. And this researcher at I don't know where is he from? I wrote it down. He's in Birmingham. We'll call it. Let's call it England in general. Has identified that on the years where there is a Doctor Who Christmas special, there's actually a reduction in deaths the following year in the UK of the amount of 4 for every 100,000 people. Obviously, it's not causal research, but it is an interesting little phenomenon. And there was like a big gap from like I don't have the dates here, but from like 1988 to 2005, where like there's a big jump, etc. But interesting finding. Here,
Did they?
6 fewer deaths per year.
Okay, so they didn't track who watched the episode and then they were less likely to die, or it was just like truly like shark attacks and ice cream. Is this what we're talking about
The
here?
article did not. It was kind of it didn't short on details of how
Right.
this was actually performed, but
I thought it
It
was going to
sounds
be
like
like,
ice cream sharks.
yeah, I thought it was going to be like less people, committed suicide around the holidays because of the Christmas special because they're like, oh, I feel like I'm a part of a community or something. I don't know, but again, I just read the headline.
I know I'm always bummed when there's no Doctor Who Christmas special.
Well, it's like also in the US, isn't Mother's Day like one of the like lowest rates of homicide every year?
I thought it was Valentine's Day, but yeah,
Mother's
same
Day
thing.
makes sense. Like the
But
criminals
yeah,
kind of go hang
Valentine's Day,
out.
I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Considering never mind. I'm not gonna get into my true crime
Mother's Day makes
my
sense
true
because
crime
like the criminals
soapbox.
would hang out with their mothers on that day, be otherwise
Right.
occupied.
Right.
So they call it like nagging Mother's Day. Is that what we're talking here? I don't know.
I
Anyway.
thought they were saying the same thing about Doctor Who. Like people are at home on that day
Yeah.
and like perhaps they don't drink and don't
Right.
go drive and like go wreck their car or whatever. But it's saying the following year. So these people are filled with like goodwill and just good vibes overall.
I mean, is it a motivational show or something like that? Or
I mean, it's definitely leaves you with a good feeling, but I mean, it's not definitely not motivational.
it's definitely completely correlational, but I still like the finding.
I love
like
it. I love it. Put more good vibes in the world, even if that regression coefficient is tiny.
Well, Jordan, I super appreciative you joining us on short notice. This has been a marathon incredibly quirky and authentic episode. So thank you for joining us. Any final words for Jordan, Scott, before I give her the last word?
Jordan, love talking to you as always. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me. And we're in people analytics. Of course, we listen to Directionally Correct.
Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
that's
We're going
the
to
new-
clip
That's
that.
a new tagline. That's a tagline. Put that up front.
We'll put it up front. All right. Well, you've been listening to Directionally Correct, the People Analytics podcast with Cole and Scott, and today's second time guest, Jordan Hartley. Thanks for joining us, Jordan.
Thanks. I'll have a good one.
All opinions are our own and do not reflect those of any other organization. Hey guys, Directionally Correct is dedicated to you, our listeners, to help educate and entertain you on how to effectively do people analytics. By supporting this podcast, you are helping us continue to provide valuable insights and knowledge to our listeners. Please consider becoming a patron of the podcast. You can find the link to sign up in the show notes or at patron.podbean.com/directionallycorrect. Thanks for your support. You've been listening to Directionally Correct, a People Analytics podcast with Cole and Scott.